Chapter 29. He that being often reproved hardeneth his neck shall suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy. Now this is a very plain verse that shows how God, he often tries to reprove the sinner. A lot of people says, well, why doesn't God give people second chances? Every altar call, every time that you look up in amazement at the sky and wonder if there's a God or not, that's a little bit of tugging at your heart to follow the right path. But then they continue to harden their heart. And notice the very fearful thing that it says about them. They shall suddenly be destroyed after years and years of attempting to reprove them. And I truly agree 100% with Charles Ellicott on this. For what more can be done for him if he has despised God's warnings over and over and over, and God sees that he will absolutely never accept the right path? He'll never take that. Of course, God already knew, but he's allowing things to play out. And so, after all of these times of warning, what else can be done? What, bring him to heaven after he's hated heaven all of his life? Verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Whoso loveth wisdom rejoiceth his father, but he that keepeth company with harlots spendeth his substance. Many years ago, before I became a Christian, I had a lot of friends, and some of them, they would come up to me and they'd say, they would begin to boast about the different girls that they've had in the past, 2 or 3 months or whatever, and however many that they have. And then it never failed, without exception. They would be the most miserable men. Just give it another 6 months or so of living like that. They wind up the most miserable of men. I don't know if it's just a crushing of their soul or not. It's just so much given over to the flesh that they have really a very shrunken soul. But either way, such are seen as lacking wisdom, and they're considered stupid in the eyes of the wise. Verse 4. The king by judgment establisheth the land, but he that receiveth gifts overthroweth. He that receiveth bribes overthrows the land by corruption. A man that flattereth his neighbor spreadeth a net for his feet. Now this isn't merely speaking of a complimentary friend, someone in whom just gives a lot of compliments and never calls out a person's wrongs or whatever. That's quite common among friends. But this is talking about a deceitful flatterer, someone in whom gives bad advice that they know is bad advice. They're setting a net under their feet. This is about a conniving flatterer. Verse 6. In the transgression of the evil man, there is a snare. There's a trap within that sin, within that wicked lifestyle that he's living. But the righteous doth sing and rejoice. And this is more pointing towards that of a trap in which holds the sinner. And they have no desire to escape it. That's part of the trap. It actually traps your vision, your will, because you're blind to repentance, you're blind to the light. You actually begin to love darkness, and that's the type of snare that it's talking about. It has a very deep meaning to it. But the righteous doth sing and rejoice. They have this freedom. The righteous considereth the cause of the poor, but the wicked regardeth not to know it. They don't want to know about the plight of anyone in need. Scornful men bring a city into a snare, but wise men turn away wrath. Now, this actually happened at the time of King David after Absalom's rebellion. It wasn't very long before David's death, as a matter of fact. After the rebellion and death of David's son Absalom, David, he was going to take back the throne, and then this man named Sheba, the son of Bichri, he actually stands up and says, no, we're not going to follow David. We're going to have rule over ourselves. So Sheba goes back, and Joab, David's general, he comes up and says, let me go after Sheba before he raises an army. So Sheba, he flees into this city, and he gets behind these walls. Joab hears about it. He brings the army of David, and they're about to completely annihilate the city. Wicked men bring a snare upon a city, just like Sheba did that city. The city was almost destroyed due to that. But a woman, she lifts up her voice and she yells out to Joab, Are you going to destroy this whole city? Why have you come here? We've not done anything to you. And Joab tells her about Sheba hiding in there, and her words are actually pretty epic. And the woman said unto Joab, Behold, his head shall be thrown to thee over the wall. Then the woman went unto all the people in her wisdom, and they cut off the head of Sheba the son of Bichri, and cast it out to Joab, and Joab blew the trumpet, and they retired from the city. So though a scornful man, as in the case of Sheba, though he can bring a city into a snare, a wise man, or in such a case, a wise woman, can turn away wrath. Verse 9. If a wise man contendeth with a foolish man, whether he rage or laugh, there is no rest. And I agree with Ellicott's commentary at this point. The sense may be the fool rages and laughs. You've probably found yourself in this situation. I know I have. He will not listen quietly to argument, by which he might be brought to wisdom, but is either violent or supercilious. Verse 10, the bloodthirsty hate the upright, but the just seek his soul. Meaning that where the bloodthirsty, godless hate the upright, the just will seek the well-being of the upright. You can go to them for comfort, as many people do at church in time of trouble. A fool uttereth all his mind, but a wise man keepeth it in till afterwards. If a ruler hearken to lies, all his servants are wicked. Usually cruel people will draw more cruel people to themselves, and kind people will draw kinder people to themselves. And the poor and the deceitful man meet together. The Lord lighteneth both their eyes. Here is comfort for the poor, that he has a tender father who watches over him. Also, here is a warning for the rich, the deceitful, that he will have to give an account of his stewardship. The king that faithfully judges the poor, his throne shall be established forever. The rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself bringeth his mother to shame. Now, I have met many parents in whom believe that the more freedom they give their child, the better off their child's going to be. They believe in being a friend to them over being a guardian, someone in whom guides them along life's path, because they are the more experienced, they know more. But such freedom can bring them to ruin. They don't know what's right. They don't know anything. That's the reason why we are told, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he shall not depart from it. Verse 16, when the wicked are multiplied, transgression increaseth, but the righteous shall see their fall. Correct thy son, and he shall give thee rest. Yea, he shall give delight unto thy soul. Where there is no vision, the people perish. That means a revelation from God. In other words, we could view this today as where there is no Bible, where there is no teaching or preaching, be it on the television or any of that. Where there is no knowledge within the home, the people perish, or in the community, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he. A servant will not be corrected by words, for though he understand, he will not answer. And I like Garrett's commentary on this. In any age, workers can become undisciplined and unreliable if some kind of authority and discipline procedure is not established. So it would appear that the most prevalent lesson of today would be that of discipline. We all need discipline throughout our entire lives. I once heard this preacher, he talked about this old man that they had brought up on stage in front of his in front of their church, and they were going to honor the man, I suppose for his attendance of being there and his faithfulness and whatnot. But they asked him, I believe it was the very preacher, he asked him, well, we'll call him Bob. Well, Bob, when did you get over lust? Can you tell us how long it takes to get over lust? And Bob, he kind of just sat there and thought for just a second. He went, well, I haven't really crossed that bridge yet. So discipline is a part of our lives, even up until the day of this fleshly body's demise. It has to be done away with, glorified, and in order for us to be without sin, because only then will we know what perfection is. We don't even know what being perfect is, my friends. It's so foreign to us. Seest thou a man that is hasty in his words? There is more hope of a fool than of him. He that delicately bringeth up his servant from a child shall have him become his son at the length. And I really like the path that Matthew Henry took with this note. Good usage to a servant does not mean indulgence, which would ruin even a child. The body, our own bodies, are like servants to our souls. Those that humor it, the flesh, and are over tender of it will find it forgets its place. Paul says, I keep my body under, because it's animalistic. It has this very primal need to do evil on a constant basis. It must be put under subjection. It must be disciplined. Which brings us to verse 22. An angry man stirreth up strife, and a furious man aboundeth in transgression. Furious is not just getting angry about something. That is a man in whom is apt to being angry all the time. A man's pride shall bring him low, but honor shall uphold the humble in spirit. Whoso is partner with a thief hateth his own soul. He heareth cursing, and bewrayeth it not. It's speaking about a man in whom at trial he doesn't tell what he knows about a thief. He hears and remains silent before a judge and jury during the trial against the thief. And thus becoming the accomplice of the thief, he shares his punishment. Verse 25, the fear of man bringeth the snare, but whoso putteth his trust in the Lord shall be safe. Many seek the ruler's favor, but every man's judgment cometh from the Lord, which means that many may cater to and only think about earthly kings and what they think about them whenever they should be thinking about that of the Lord. They should be worrying far more about the ultimate judgment from God, because ultimately He has the final word in all things. An unjust man is an abomination to the just, and he that is upright in the way is abomination to the wicked.